Okay. G'day everyone. This is Rangadad. Not financial advice, just the way I'm looking at the market. Well, Bitcoin just tore the short as a new asshole, basically. Excuse the French, but yeah, leaving behind a gigantic vector wick to the downside, which is never fun. Just having that sitting there below price, as we mentioned the other day, that tends to attract price action. Doesn't have to happen straight away, but it normally doesn't take more than a couple of months. So we'll leave that there for now. For the time being, this is actually, I would actually consider this bullish divergence, even though technically, like, it depends where you take the low on this. Momentum does lag a little bit, but yeah, it doesn't look bearish, put it that way, this particular chart. One thing I did notice today, the point of control was actually sitting right at these wicks here, right at the top of the wicks, which was a pretty reasonable level all the way along. It came in sort of just under these candles here, lots of wicks rejecting off it. It has moved up a little bit. We are still sitting just above that point of control. I'm thinking if I maybe this area now is probably big enough that we bring it back over to just the top part of this range. I'd originally set that as the start of the breakout. Doesn't really change things too much. It actually lifts the point of control a little bit more. Yeah, it's still, if we close up around here, it's still going to look pretty bullish to me. You'd at least be expecting a test of the value area high. But to be honest with you, up around the 99,300 on Bybit, that's probably going to be a better level. Could have some fireworks around there, but at this stage, coming off a bounce like that, you've got to be pretty careful in both directions, to be honest. Keep your stop losses relatively close, because it could flush pretty quick. And the other thing, we've come back up into the pivot levels. So it looked like it was going to get some resistance around this pivot level, and it was it's pretty well the fourth time that it tried to break this level just in the last couple of weeks. And it smashed through it. So that's quite bullish as well. Obviously, we've still got these vectors down here, but probably forget about them for the time being until we break back below this level. If we break below 95,500 or thereabouts, then you're probably going to be looking back down around the lows, back down around the 89s, potentially into the 88s, sweep a couple of key areas. So these are some interesting levels here. The fact that we rejected the first time off the middle pivot, not a huge surprise, but good bounce off the bottom one here. So next target 99,400 in terms of pivots. There are some vectors above that as well. So we could get basically another short squeeze and just come straight up through these. I would expect some resistance around this level just because of the rejection off it previously, but we do have a trend line coming through here, which has defined a few of these highs. So that's sort of where I'm going to be looking at for an actual rejection. If we get through that, new all-time highs. So yeah, shorter time frames, these are your key levels. You need to break that 97,500, say. The resistance at 99,500 is probably going to be fairly decent as well, I would say, just because we got this downward channel here as well. Now that I zoom out a bit and look at it, that's actually going to be pretty pivotal. If we break that level and confirm, then I would say you'd at least be getting up into this trend line here. Rejection off that, and yeah, chances are we're coming back down to 80, potentially even 85. That would be a critical pivot, and it's probably going to be somewhere close to the bottom of this channel. So for the time being, upside into that. Oh, excuse me. Into that channel there. Question is, given that was such a strong rejection off that level, could the channel base be there? Doesn't really affect the middle bounces, so I'll keep it there for the time being. All right, so yeah, at the moment, tough to be bearish on this. It pretty well just looks like it wants to go up. Not many longs coming in at the moment after this pump. They might be waiting for a little bit of a dip. So a retest into, I'll have a look on the liquidity levels, but a retest into 95 sort of level is probably warranted. Maybe a wick into 94,300, the bottom of this value area. They're potential levels for a pullback, a healthy pullback too. If we get bounces off those levels on the shorter time frames, then you would still be quite bullish. All right, for the time being, we come back into this highly traded zone. This looks like where people think Bitcoin is fair value. All right, back over to some of these charts. So liquidation heat map. We weren't seeing a lot of liquidations coming into the charts along here. That was surprising me a little bit yesterday, 48 hour. Apart from this level here, there was not much on the way up. It was like people that were going long were just all wiped out by this wick to the downside, and either that or they all jumped in at this level. Yeah, that was a little surprising. You don't often see that sort of thing happening. So starting to build below here though, and not a lot of shorts coming in either. It's actually quite a strange looking liquidation chart, liquidation heat map. It's like the market is sitting on the sidelines at the moment for the most part and just waiting to see what happens. So yeah, obviously got a massive or decent level here, but whether we come straight back down into that or not, I don't think so. There's enough above that we probably push a little bit higher, and you can see that on Coinank. There is a decent number of orders that are coming in, sell orders up again. The 100k level, 100,500 is sort of going to be actually most of them around 100k. I'd say 100k is going to be another key level again. And looking at this, there's not a lot of buy orders below, so price goes to where people want to transact. And at this stage, based on this, unless it just tanks to the downside to come back and grab this, at this stage, this would suggest a bit higher yet. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. And look, we have had a general uptick in the cumulative volume delta on spot. So that's worth noting. That is a reasonable uptick there. Not really getting much divergence. Probably it's hard for you guys to see, but right now that candle is still actually green with a red CVD. We have had some red CVD over the past 3 green candles before that, so we might be getting a little toppy here. So some pullbacks into these areas, so potentially down into the 93.5. Don't know that it'll go that low. Where was the pivot levels? 94.3. Yeah, somewhere in there is probably 94-ish. Low 94s would pick up some of the bigger orders on spot as well. At that point, you're going to be getting close to the 200 EMA on the 15-minute, or 50 on the 1 hour. That's going to be a fairly critical level as well. So is 95, 300-ish. Yeah, they're key levels to watch out for on the way down. A break of 95, 300 might freak some longs out as well. So 200 EMA is probably a pretty decent target there. There aren't a lot of vector candles up in this through that region. Through here, which is probably why there aren't many liquidations in that zone either. But yeah, 95, 131 seems to be a decent level to come back to. It may go into the 94s, but at this stage it looks like it'd probably just be a sweep of these lows here. Down at around 95.3. Yeah. Looking at this chart as well, fairly heavy on the red on the bid-ask delta. So typically that will lead to a pullback once you're at your highs. Yeah, it was quite red all the way through yesterday though. That's what didn't quite make sense about this move up. It was just, there was someone big doing that. The market maker was having a lot of fun wiping out a lot of people then. Yeah, open interest is starting to pick up as well, which could be on the short side. Yeah, that bid-ask delta should see us drop back down a little bit. But again, till we're starting to close below probably 94, 94,500, even like anything above 94k is still has the potential to bounce and bounce pretty well. Should be a fair bit of support around there. Just looking at volume leaders, decent dark pool coming through at the end of the trading session yesterday, sort of holding price at that level too on Coinbase. Just want to have a look at the daily chart to see if there's anything major coming in. So the 2x long Coinbase, we haven't come back down below this yet, so that was a decent position. We haven't seen any take profit on this either today, so that's not a bad look. IBIT, nothing really since this trade here, so they'd be laughing at the moment. It'd be great to be able to just dump a heap of money on the market and it just forces price in the direction you want. Getting a little choppy through here, but you'd kind of expect that too. One, price action's doing the same thing, but this is a pretty highly traded area on IBIT. I'm not going to go into the others at the moment. What I'm going to do is interesting, some decent trades coming in at the highs here. Let's see what it looks like on. Yeah, it's worthwhile having the daily on charts on these if you're day trading. Generally, lately it seems whatever the market opening trade, whatever happens in the hour or so after that, tends to set the tune for the day at the moment, at least the first half of the day. But quite frequently it's been the whole day. All right. Just going to have a quick look at liquidation map. So there are a decent amount of liquidations to the long liquidations in the chart compared to the shorts on the daily. But overall, those volumes aren't massive either. They're not. Like the liquidity's just dried up. There's a lot to the upside though compared to the downside here. Got 200 million on the downside, 8 billion to the upside. Cumulative up to 108. That to me suggests that the market has wiped out the longs. It's pretty happy with the amount of longs that it's wiped out for the time being, and it wants this liquidity. Like, you don't have to go far. Where are we? Jesus. This is where you got to be careful of the scale on either side of the liquidation map. But at 97,150, like the third candle from price action on this to the upside, you've got cumulative liquidations of 308 million. You've got, this is based on 30 days. What? Okay, that's weird. This scale's fucked up. Okay, ignore that because this scale doesn't actually align with the price or the cumulative long liquidations. I know why, dumbass. This scale's for the candles. This scale's for the actual cumulative. Okay, disregard that. But yeah, we'd have to go back to the 89K level to get the same amount of cumulative liquidations as we would up to 101. So still looking at this, you kind of be upside biased. There's still just a lot more to grab up to that 99K level. Once you get up to there, it gets a little bit thin. You'd have to see a lot of shorts coming into the market and these levels increasing a lot for it to keep going through that. But that certainly can happen. It's sort of what happened when we actually got the run up to 108. It didn't look like at the start of that run there was going to be much up there to go into, but people just kept shorting it at the top and it kept wiping them out. So it's always something you've got to be wary of if you're going to try and short tops. Okay, 99.3, yeah. So this would suggest 99Ks are going to be a fairly decent level. 99 to 100. All right, general market. Q's down a down day you would say, but it did open quite a bit higher. This wouldn't suggest downside to me though. This suggests we've found a little bottom here, which why do I never remember which one it is there? We just draw it as a parallel channel. It's probably, to be honest with you, we could actually see a little bit more downside before a bounce. Doesn't have to be a perfect channel, but it's just interesting. We haven't, well, let's just say that's not a perfect channel. Don't want to try and force it into anything it doesn't want to do. Yeah, there has been some decent dark pool transactions on NASDAQ and Qs and stuff like that at the lows yesterday. So you'd kind of expect this to at least run up into this trend line. And if we do that, to be honest with you, I'd expect it to kind of break that trend line, come up more into this vector. Could be a fake out of it, but it could be the start of a decent run to the upside. Excuse me. Momentum is still to the downside though too, so I'd like to see another green day on top of this to suggest that we've found a little bottom here. Equal weight looks a little better to me, which is good. SPY, we've reclaimed that trend line, so that's a good sign. That was a pretty good buy level for the SPY. ES1, yeah, futures. So the futures have reclaimed this vector for the most part. I'm not looking at this as being particularly bearish yet. It's just after a decent buy up like this, you do typically, quite often you can get a decent sort of choppy day just to sweep some more of the liquidity that's coming into the charts. Wipe out a few more retail before you actually take it to the upside. Equal weight, definitely it's looking more bullish. BBWP's ticked to the upside of the signal line. That's a pretty strong candle with increasing momentum, bullish divergence on the momentum. That to me is signaling that we probably will go on a decent run from here. One thing I wanted to do was I wanted to have a look at I suck at doing this. I want to look at staples. versus it's not going to do that, is it? I need to do it using something else. I'll do it tomorrow. But if you look at Staples versus SPY, Staples have been smashed compared to SPY, and they're getting to a fairly critical level. Typically, they actually bounce from that, and typically that's a pretty bearish signal once that happens. See if I can do it here. If I wanted to do it on the equal weights, that. Yeah, I mean, equal weight wise, it's actually not that bad compared to some of the peaks that it's been at. Or the lows that it's been at. This is kind of what I'm more interested in. If the RSPD versus RSP is particularly low, like that was not getting a great read off this. It's actually, this is one that is a better read on the not equal weights. So you actually want to see people moving into consumer sorry, that's discretionary. Fucking idiot. I want RSPS. Not Staples. There we go. That's more what I was remembering. It's taken a while to calculate. We're actually equal weight wise. We're actually at lower levels than we were before the GFC. What does that mean? Probably means we're going for a bigger crash. That's all that really means. Just going to add that to my charts, because if we start to see this actually break trend lines to the upside, that's probably a pretty good sign that we're going to have a decent pullback. My eyes aren't working today. Holy shit. Duh. While we're here though, I'll do sorry. Fuck, what is it? Excel. Excel. Sorry about this, guys. What the fuck? Just have a look at this one compared to GFC. This should actually go back a lot further as well, so you can look at other. At least it goes back to the 2000s .com bubble. So that was a decent level. Interestingly, it didn't go back down to that same level in 2008. But as you can see, like reversal of trend on this, you're starting to get decent decent pullbacks in the market. Same thing there, and that was actually at that was lower than the GFC. That there is an interesting level because 2018, just in here, that we were looking at a reversal, and as I've said before, the markets were like economists were wondering how the economy or how the stock market's still actually as high as it was, and they were suggesting there's going to be a big pullback soon. I remember that very vividly, and we never really got it because COVID came in, and yeah, COVID led to this current drive. Now we are actually at levels on XLP SPY that are lower than what we were in the dot-com bubble. Again, just we want to wait and actually see a reversal of trend on this. I think, but I'll definitely keep these in mind. I think, yeah, if we see a break of that trend line, then I'll be getting a bit more concerned. All right, I'll just add this as well while I'm here. And move them into the right spot later. All right, IWM, pretty similar. It's similar to the rest of the market, but again, good bullish divergence on momentum here with an elevated BBWP. So overall, I'm relatively bullish on the markets here at the moment. Again, it's these ones here that were suggesting that they're still in, like the market still thinks the overall everything's still healthy and we'll probably have a decent bounce after we find a bottom. Yeah, so both consumer staples and consumer discretionary look like they're trying to bottom off as well. On bullish divergence again. And I'd take bullish divergence on momentum, I take with higher importance than I do on RSI. It's just RSI, to be honest, I don't use it often because it doesn't give me great reads for tops and things. Semis is still in this range, but not a bad level. Again, it's kind of been I would say it's a flat day, but it's certainly not a day where we've broken new lows on anything. It's more just the market digesting the previous day. Decent levels on DJT and DJI too. And versus gold, they're starting to actually find some support here. So that's good. Yeah, just reading the news. VIX pull back a little bit. Again, I kind of expected VIX to at least hit that 23 mark. It did hit the 20 level, which 20 can be a decent level as well, I guess, if you're going into a reasonably shallow pullback. But the skew yesterday was a pretty decent sign that we were finding a bottom, but I'll be interested to see what it looks like today because skew is getting at pretty high levels. We haven't really seen these levels for a while, if at all, actually. Yeah, we're pretty elevated levels here. When was that? June 2021, which was pretty well the top of the market there. Well, getting close anyway. Yeah, we start making, like, it's for the time being, we're still making higher highs on the skew. Um, if we start to make lower highs, then I'd be a little bit more concerned as well. So it's these sort of things we're looking for tops in markets. DAX. DAX is actually still pushing the upper end of this trend here. Surprising. HSI. Sorry, need to go back to the daily. Yeah, decent gap up. That's kind of an island reversal on the DAX. It may push up into this level, particularly if the US market goes well. Wow, good bounce for Chinese market. I mean, that's a fairly decent level there off the 100 EMA. Not that the hundreds really seem to have provided too much support or resistance, a little bit there, but anyway, that's a pretty bullish candle though. Momentum's ticking to the upside. You'd just like to see it. There is bullish divergence between these levels on momentum. So you just like to see that continue and probably break out of the bearish control zone, but not a bad area for a nibble. UK market still pulling back a little. I'd actually expect the UK market to keep coming. Japanese market may have a little bit more in it. Slightly. US AI curves. Interesting. So no real news about the Nikkei at all, or about the Japanese dollar. Sorry, the Japanese yen, the yen versus dollar. TLT still struggling at this level. We've definitely closed that gap now, but not bad levels on TLT still. High yield junk, bit of a bounce. That's good to see. You want to see that bouncing at the same time the market does. Kind of in no man's land here on momentum, and BBWP is still dropping, so something to be careful of. But if all this does tick to the upside, BBWP ticks to the upside, it could actually go on a decent run, which will support a pretty big leg up in the market. Interesting that this bond indicator has come back a little bit today as well. Again, it indicated that we might have a down day today, or at least a flat sort of day. That's what's happened. If we're breaking these lows, then yeah, I'd be a little bit more concerned. But at this stage, you're looking at probably just another flat day. This isn't telling me that we're in trouble. Just telling me that it might take a little bit to actually break out and decent moves to the upside. 2-year yield pulling back. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is at that trend line there. If we come back inside there, then that's probably going to allow markets to go up. The 10-year is still quite high though. No real reversal of trend yet on that. Yeah, it may get to the 5%, which is going to make it hard for markets to go up. So it could be a bit of a grind. Chinese 10-year is going up, the yields. So is the 2-year. That index is still going. I won't worry about this too often. I'm not going to cover that again. Go and have a look at yesterday's video if you want some more explanation on that. Copper's probably going to struggle here. If we do break through this, then that would be in support of a decent market rally. Gold. Gold's toying with this trend line at the moment. Looks like it has found decent support on that value area high there. So you'd kind of expect gold to head back up. Certainly in a pretty highly traded zone here anyway. Just depends if the market wants to see gold run at the same time the stock market does. Okay, oil's pulled back below that trend line, so may come back a little bit further here. Somewhere into these levels, I would expect another bounce. But for the time being, it may just be confirming this level of support here too, the 77.28. Kind of need to just see what happens around that level. But if oil pulls back, that will make investors a bit more comfortable in terms of a market rally. Dixie, it's so close to tagging our level there. That level was put right at the top of this vector candle, so that may be all we get on the Dixie. It may start pulling back, but for the time being, it's still, yeah, actually that's a bearish divergence. 3 drives of bearish divergence on the momentum. That's probably it for Dixie, I would suggest. I'd like to see one more down day to confirm that. But that's a good sign for markets. And yeah, Japanese yen's still trudging to the upside. So what do we got? PPI. Oh, okay. PPI came in low. That's actually a good sign. So producers price index is a reasonably key level of a measure of inflation. So that's a pretty good read there. If inflation is coming down, then interest rates can come down. Yeah, what we don't want to see is increase tomorrow in these particular interest rates. If they actually pop up, then it's not going to be a great thing. We may actually see whatever bounce we're going to have fail. It seems to be interest rates are driving the conversation at the moment. Again, still flattening off on global liquidity as well. Not going down, not really going up, but we'll just keep an eye on that. Percentage of stocks above 50-day moving average. It did sweep this level. Yeah. I mean, it's been a pretty flat day on the market, so not too concerned about that, but I would like to see this start to bounce as well. If this next move up is going to be confirmed sort of market shift to the upside and putting in a decent low here, you'd kind of want breadth to go with it, which this is a measure of breadth on the market. So Mag 7 still hasn't broken below that 200. It's not a bad level, not the best. It's going to need to break out of that wedge. Whichever way we break out of that, it's probably going to govern the direction of the market for a little while. And a break to the downside on this is potentially another topping signal in markets. ASX 200 still moving to the downside with that momentum, so that's probably not a great sign there. Yeah, nothing's really breaking key levels. Staples versus Bitcoin is still moving to the downside with momentum, so that's a good sign. If we sort of reverse at levels below this, then it's going to be another, probably a lower high or another top in the market. BTC dominance, decent levels here. I'd like to see this continue to the upside, but whenever we get a little pump in Bitcoin at the moment, we are getting a run up in a lot of the alts, particularly in the AI sector. Yeah, total market cap's going well still. Ethereum, it's found a decent pullback into this level. This is, again, value area low. If we reject off this, then look out below. Ethereum's probably coming down to 2600, and I would actually be a bit more concerned about the market if that happens. Do I think that's going to happen? Not at this stage, not based on everything else. Need to see some action on Bitcoin that would suggest the same thing. That's something I'm going to be watching closely, what happens when we actually recover this vector here on CME. But again, bullish divergence on CME, and it is clearer on CME than it is on the other centralized exchanges. So I would take that as a pretty decent sign. I'd like to see BBWP increasing though as well. So we could, if we do get a pretty solid update on volume and BBWP jumps back above the signal line tomorrow or today, today my time, tomorrow US time, then look, new all-time highs are actually quite possible. That's going to be an interesting level to break through. And if we're breaking through that, then you've got to be looking at 120, I would say, pretty quickly. Could even get to that 150 level that we talked about a few months ago. All right. Solana's at a pretty critical level as well. A bit of rejection on Solana off that point of control on the bigger time frame volume profile. We're well below the value area on the last couple of months since November, which was the Bitcoin breakout. So Solana should have some more upside here, but at this stage, can't confirm that until we actually break above probably 192. Break above 192, and then 192 and a half even. Then that would probably be a confirmation that we're going into a decent run. Going to be a bit of resistance around 217 on Solana though. XRP. XRP. XRP's just bucked the trend entirely, hasn't it? A little bit of a blip yesterday with the drop in Bitcoin, but XRP looks like it wants to run. I wouldn't be fading XRP until we actually see a breakout of the bullish control zone, especially if we get a bump in BBWP as well. So at this stage, looking at these charts, you would actually think XRP is going to do better than Sol. Quant, yeah, a lot of these. Hype kind of bucked the trend on Bitcoin as well, which is supportive of that being a reasonable low on Bitcoin. I wouldn't have expected these to, some of the bigger ones that have been good performers in this run have really held up quite well. Algo is holding pretty well as well. That's interesting. Yeah, a lot of the AI coins seem to be the play. If we get a run on Bitcoin, AI, to me, AI is the narrative at the moment. Look at that. Grass actually went up without dropping very far at all yesterday. So my suggestion is, if you're going to play alts, really get into the AI narrative. Decent low on GOAT too, actually. Yeah, see AI 16Z. That's a good bounce there. Hit a pretty good support level. Why did virtual go off the charts? Interesting. All right. Yeah, checks is an interesting one too. This is what you want to look for when things turn around. Just look for the ones that are doing the big numbers. They're probably going to be your play. I did have a bag of Altura at one stage. I thought I still had it, but I couldn't find it last night. Whoa, that's quite a bit of support there. Yeah, pretty good base formations and signals on a few of the gaming coins as well. Some of them doing some decent numbers. Oh. Bull has been hammered, but if gaming coins go on a run, that's probably going to do decent numbers. But it looks like people are selling these things pretty hard once they get their money out of them. Just be careful. You can get wrecked just as quickly as you can get rich in some of these. Tengu's still finding some support around this vector candle, so that's not a bad tick up. Probably want to break above that 50 EMA there on the daily. Break above 3.4 cents on Pengu would be quite bullish. And that'll do me for today. So yeah, generally there's a lot of bull signs still. Yeah, we've left that wick behind at this stage. You'd probably be waiting to, like, if you were a bear, wait till you see a signs of a turnaround on general stock market. But no significant signs.